G'day everyone, welcome back to Pete's Investing. It's July 26, 2023. This is the commodities technical analysis for the following instruments. And we're going to be covering these, and just a bit of a heads up, we're going to be looking at primarily the hourly trend, but also going to cover the daily charts for each of these very briefly as well. Just notice there's a few divergences that have been hit, but also watching some divergence materializing so far. First off, we'll talk about gold. There's been a divergence hit, and this is the daily chart first off. Just want to zoom out. You can see there the key support and resistance areas at 1893 and 2082 respectively. You can see there it's bounced off that support recently, and it's now sort of trying to hover and break higher, probably around the mid-range almost on the daily chart. There was a bearish divergence back here, and it broke down and hit our target, but there is no divergence at the moment on the daily. On the hourly, you can see there in our previous video, it did actually hit the target level we projected on that hourly bearish divergence. But you'll notice on the hourly as well, we're still in a fairly bullish mode above our stochastic, and the CCI is still falling. So we may see it break lower than this possibly, so we'll just keep an eye on that. But that's where we are with gold at the moment. Very similar to gold, silver has also hit its divergence. So let's go first off to the hourly on silver. You can see there it hits divergence on the hourly chart. It's made a bit of a retrace back up on the CCI as well, but that's still in decline possibly. The stochastic is still in the overbought area, but it is currently declining. So it's actually bounced off that resistance at 25.27 after bouncing up some time ago from the support at 22.11. Now on the daily silver price chart, you can see there, zooming out, there's no key divergence to talk about, with the exception of this one back here, which was in April-May. There was a bullish movement on the price versus the CCI, then eventually collapsed and hit our target on the daily. So at the moment, just cautiously bullish on the silver chart, similar to gold. Bitcoin is currently resting on the major support area, which we drew, but we'll call it a current. It's a neutral positioning at the moment on the hourly, and is also a bit of a retrace. Let's look at the daily chart first. You can see there, it's actually hitting this key support at 28.880 after bouncing off the resistance at 31.830. So you'll notice also the CCI is declining. The stochastic is well oversold, and it's been in that way for almost a year, over a year now. So, but that's also showing some slight decline on the daily chart. If we go to the hourly chart, you can see that it was overbought for some time, and it's broken through the midpoint of the stochastic, and it's now reached that support, as we said, at the 38% retracement level of that wider Fibonacci range. There was a bearish divergence. If I draw the trend line back there, back to this point here, that was pretty much flat on a CCI, so almost a double top on the CCI, but it eventually broke down versus those highs on the price chart, and eventually broke down and would have hit your target had you placed the target level down there somewhere. Now there was a very slight bullish divergence there as well. It broke up, and that was at the 38 to 50% level between that range, and then it collapsed after hitting that level as well. So small divergence happening on the hourly chart, but at the moment it's broken through the midpoint of the stochastic, and we may possibly see a break below this support on the hourly chart. Nat gas is showing a bearish divergence on the hourly chart, but just be mindful there's a bullish divergence on the daily. So let's first of all go to the daily chart. So you can see here first off, we did draw these support resistance lines. There was a support here at 24.89. And let me just make a little adjustment there. We're going to bring that down to those bottoms there. So it's bounced off that bottom. It's a triple bottom actually on the price chart on the daily. But you'll notice there was a bearish movement on the price versus a bullish momentum on the CCI, and that's still rising. It's actually rising quite a bit actually. We do anticipate it breaking above this resistance very likely, and hitting this target area between the 23% and the 38% level. So for that to happen, again, first off, we need to see a break above the resistance at Well, the initial resistance here at 27.68, that's minor resistance. It's done that already once, but ultimately we need to see a break above this major resistance at 29.30, and if it does that, then it very likely is going to hit the target area between the 23% and 38% Fibonacci range. On the hourly chart, that was on the daily, looking at a bullish divergence. On the hourly chart, we've got a bearish divergence currently playing out. You can see there the CCI is declining. We've got almost like a triple top, or even a 4-time top here on that minor resistance at 27.68. And if it does break to the downside, and if this CCI continues down, we're going to see it at the very least breach this 38% to 50% Fibonacci retracement of that level. You'll notice here on the stochastic, it's in the overbought territory. So again, it's starting to weaken possibly, and we may see a bit of a retrace to the downside likewise. So at the moment, short-term bearishness, but ultimately we're looking at a possible long-term bullishness on the daily. Similar to our nat gas, USCrude is showing a daily bullish momentum, but on the hourly it's showing a short-term bearish movement. So let's first off go to the daily. You can see here we've drawn support resistance lines at 67.12 support. It's bounced off that number of times already over the last few months, and it's now hitting this resistance at 79.77. We did draw a divergence here on the CCI versus those bottoms, and it's actually broken up and hit our target, and that was at the 61% level. And that 61% level is also a key area to look out for in terms of breaking of the trend, the downtrend in this case, and it's moving now to the uptrend. So our bullish movement on the daily, and you'll notice also on the stochastic, it's been oversold for a number of months and it's starting still to move up alongside with the CCI. On the hourly chart, although we've got a slightly different outlook, we've got a bearish divergence on the CCI versus the price, and we've drawn this target area here, and that happens to be, for those new to the channel, we basically draw the way we get those targets, we draw a Fibonacci range between a recent low, and it can be any one of these lows, up to the most recent high, and that's drawn at the 23% to the 38% Fibonacci range, and I always choose the closest Fibonacci range as a target for these possible retraces. So again, these retraces doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be a full-on reversal. It just could be a little bit of a retrace before continuing up in an uptrend, and that's what we're anticipating, because again, this may be a small retrace on the hourly, and that's why I'm showing you the daily, because the daily is showing a bullish movement to the upside. So that's where we, again, of course, nothing's guaranteed. This could always bounce to the downside and come back down towards the support. So, but at the moment, it's looking bullish at the moment on our indicators, and if it breaks above this resistance line, then it's going to confirm that. So at the moment, bullish on the daily and bearish on the hourly. The US dollar DXY is showing a bearish divergence on the hourly, and it's now bouncing off this key support. So looking at the daily first off, it's actually bounced off this key support at 99.12, and it's, again, we're still in decline. It's broken through the midpoint of the stochastic, and it's now in a possible bearish mode, but that'll be confirmed once, if it breaks below this support area. So the US dollar not looking too strong at the moment. Looking at the hourly, it's got a bearish divergence as well in that little range. Although the stochastic is rising, the CCI is still falling, and that's in line with the divergence on the price rising. So as long as the CCI keeps falling, we're anticipating it to retrace back at least to this around the 23% to the, and I've got a midpoint there between the 23% and 38% minimum target. So that's where we're looking at short term for the US dollar. The Nasdaq showing a bullish divergence on the hourly, although just be careful, there is a bearish divergence on the daily. So let's go to the daily first. On the daily chart, you can see here we've got a Fibonacci drawn basically between that support resistance zone, that more recent zone, low point. You can see there a bearish CCI versus the price, and we've drawn a target here between the 23 and the 38% level. Now you'll notice the stochastic is in a well overbought territory, and there's no real sign of it weakening yet. So we need to see a break above this resistance at 15.930 to be more bullish, but at the moment just be careful, we've got this divergence playing out. Now if this as long as the CCI stays below that entry point, the price may still rise, and as long as the CCI keeps falling, then we're going to be still holding a bearish divergence on that. So this may always keep breaking higher, like it's done in the S&P. So we'll just keep an eye on that. But on the hourly chart, we've got an opposite. We've got a bullish divergence playing out. Now this may have already done its dash. You can see there is a very small bullish divergence on the CCI versus the price. It's broken up, and it may have already hit the target, if that was your target, at 38%. And I've got it drawn in there between the 38% to the 61%. So this may possibly still keep rising, but you'll notice the stochastic is slowly falling off, and so we may see a bit of a pullback at this point in line with the daily chart. So again, bearish on the daily and bullish on the hourly chart for the moment. The Japanese Nikkei is still neutral on the hourly, although it's looking possibly bearish on the daily. So we'll talk about the daily first. You can see there it's hit this key resistance up here at 34.015, and it's slowly making its way to the down. Now it's already hit this target we set, which is on the support level at 31.790. And you can see there the CCI and the stochastic are still falling, although there's a very slight move to the upside on the stochastic. Still well overbought, but very slight weakening. So for it to be more bearish, we need to see the stochastic break below this midpoint, and also, but especially break below this key support area on the daily chart. On the hourly though, we've got this pretty much a sideways movement been going on for pretty much the whole month of July. It did bounce off this support, as I said, and it's been fluctuating between a 61% in all these different Fibonacci ranges, and it still hasn't moved much since our last video. But again, you'll notice the stochastic is falling below its midpoint, and the CCI is still also declining. So that's pretty much it where we are at the moment. Feel free to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Support us by also subscribing to the Patreon page, where we also do weekly scans of stocks, currencies and commodities. Subscribe, like and share the channel. Thanks for watching, and see you in a future video.